Good afternoon and welcome to this Euroservice free live webinar focused on Horizon Europe. I'm Veronica Bari and today with me I have the great pleasure to welcome my colleague Ivica Ilić, our expert in Horizon Europe program. Ivica works within the European Research and Development programs from the beginning of FP7 onwards, supporting the project development from ideation to concrete proposal. He has been advising, supporting, and educating interested organizations for the participation in these programs on how to cope with the core requirements and best present your idea to be interesting to the evaluators. Horizon Europe is the EU key funding program for research and innovation with a budget of 95.5 billion euro. It tackles climate change, helps the development of the UN Sustainable Development Goals and boosts the EU competitiveness and growth. The program facilitates the collaborations and the strengthening of the impact of the research and innovation in developing, supporting and implementing EU policies while tackling global challenges. Before we get started, I would like to introduce Euroservice to you. Based in Trieste and founded in 2004, Euroservice is a modern consulting agency specialized in the field of European Union project development. Today, Euroservice Group is made up of 3 different companies. Nova, which is specialized in digital transformation and Industry 4.0 for Italian enterprises. Europski Center in Slovenia, specialized in the internationalization of companies, and Euroservice itself. Euroservice in particular offers its services to companies, public agencies and public administrations, as well as to non-profit organizations such as foundations or associations that require support in taking advantage of all the opportunities offered by the European Union with regards to the announcement of call of opportunities and funding. Before we get into the webinar, I kindly ask you to write your questions in English in the QA box you can find below. I will be collecting all the questions throughout the webinar, and at the end of it, we will dedicate 10 to 15 minutes to answer to all your questions as best as we can. Now we can start. Please, Ivica, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm working as a project manager. So basically, we will talk about the Horizon Europe, the novelties that it brings, and some comparative analysis between Horizon Europe and Horizon 2020. So as you all know, there are 4 different main objectives of Horizon Europe, which is, let's say, continuation to strengthen the EU technological and scientific basis of the European research area, consequently also gaining competitive advantages, improving innovation capacity, as well as global competitiveness and employment in Europe, achieving main targets for citizens and supporting socioeconomic models and values, as well as increasing growth, trade and investment, as well as to create a significant impact in environmental terms. Also, you know that there are 3 main pillars in Horizon Europe program. Pillar 1 is dedicated to excellent science and excellent science only. Pillar 2, which is, let's say, the largest pillar within the Horizon Europe, it addresses the global challenges and industrial competitiveness. Here I underline the industrial competitiveness, and it is formed in 6 different clusters. We will speak about it a bit later. And pillar number 3 is Innovative Europe, which has in its contents European Innovation Council, Innovation Ecosystems, and European Institute of Innovation and Technology. Here, major change is, let's say, European Innovation Council since it was at pilot stage in last year and last 2 years of Horizon 2020, and it occurs to be a successful pilot, so that's why it is shaped now as an institution. Beside these 3 pillars of Horizon Europe, there is also a widening participation in strengthening the European research area which doesn't belong in any of the three pillars because it's solely with the mission to strengthen European research area through the widening mechanisms, through the spreading excellence, and through the infrastructures. Types of partnerships, something that is introduced in Horizon Europe, should be co-programmed, co-funded, and institutionalized. About the co-financing rates, we will speak also during the course of this webinar per individual funding action. It should be noted that that approximate this 95 billion euros, as I state, global competitiveness and industrial global challenges and industrial competitiveness has more than 50% of the entire budget, followed by the open science and then open innovation. As for the pillar one, excellent science, as said, it is consistent of three blocks: European Research Council, Marie Skłodowska-Curie actions, and research infrastructures. The biggest portion is dedicated to the European Research Council, which is support frontier research of, let's say, top scientists. The proposal, and I think now it is a bit increased, like close to 20 billion, is to support this frontier research. There is no top-down approach, meaning that the credible scientists with good ideas and justified ideas can be supported in their future research successes. So that's a basic research and scientific excellence, of course. Then we have Marie Skłodowska-Curie actions, which supports researchers through the mobility and training. Probably you know from the Horizon 2020, Marie Skłodowska-Curie individual fellowships. That's one of the parts within these actions. And of course, part dedicated to strengthening the research infrastructures with 2.4 billion euros. As said, more than half of this Horizon Europe represent industrial competitiveness pillar, and it is structured in 6 different clusters: food, civil security, digital industry and space, climate, energy and mobility, health and culture, creativity, and inclusive society. As for the pillar 3, as already said, first and foremost, European Innovation Council, that started from its pilot phase before this program, and now it's fully enforced. It will support innovations with breakthrough and really top market potential ideas. Then we have European Innovation Ecosystems, which is connecting off regional and national stakeholders that will be supported in creating added value for their community. And we have European Institute of Innovation and Technology, which is bringing key actors from all areas together around the common goal. Beside clusters, European Commission defined through the Horizon Europe also support to so-called mission areas, which is increasing the effectiveness of funding by pursuing clearly defined targets. And it is clearly defined theme topic that will be further elaborated throughout the Horizon Europe. One of them is cancer, then climate neutral and smart cities, soil health and food, adaptation to climate change, including societal transformation, as well as healthy ocean seas and coastal inland waters. To bring you pragmatically the comparison, the differences between Horizon Europe and Horizon 2020. So first and foremost, we should note that there is a strict hierarchy of the program, and that we should be aware of this hierarchy in order to pursue the contents and the references through which you can justify your project idea. As on the top is the program itself, it's Horizon Europe, and already presented the pillars. And one of them has its clusters. But now, as work programs are publishing from time to time, let's say, and hopefully till mid of May, it will be in its final shape, each cluster has its destinations. It's a long-term vision of the European Commission within different area or cluster area. Based on these destinations, for each destination, there is a group of calls for proposals that will be published and where the expectations will be assigned. As for the types of actions, there is no much change as opposed to the Horizon 2020. Namely, we have here research and innovation action, coordination and support action, program co-fund actions, and now we come to the area which is not related strictly to the second pillar, which is innovation and market deployment actions related to European Innovation Council. Then training and mobility actions, which is for Marie Sklodowska-Curie within the first pillar. Then we have pre-commercial procurement actions and public procurement of innovative solutions that was also already part of Horizon 2020. As for the funding rates, research and innovation action stays with the same financing rate as it was previously, so 100% for all, which means that you get covered all the costs you propose in the budget. Then you have innovation actions, which is a bit higher TRL, where the co-financing rate is 70% for for-profit companies. Non-profit institutions and organizations are entitled to 100% of compensation. Coordination and support action also have 100% of co-financing, or to be equal, financing. As for the European Innovation Council, for instance, the co-financing rate is 70%. And in case of non-profits, it will be a full compensation of cost proposed in the budget. So basically, there are no big differences in co-financing rates as opposed to the Horizon 2020. However, the evaluation criteria to evaluate your proposals have been reduced, which means that, as you can see, each part of the proposal is evaluated against two criteria and two criteria only. Within excellence, that's clarity and pertinence of project objectives and the extent to which proposed work goes beyond the state of the art. And the second is evaluation of the methodology, concepts, models, and assumptions that are given in the excellence section. Within impact, there are also only two evaluation criteria. First is the credibility of the pathway you are proposing in your project in order to achieve expected outcomes and impacts specified in the work program. Now here, please remember, it's different to have expected outcomes and expected impacts. We will speak about that just in a few minutes. The second criterion for evaluation of impact is actually measures to maximize outcomes and impacts. That's an exploitation plan, that's a dissemination, that's a communication plan. So in this part, there is no any big difference from previous program. As for the quality of implementation, also two evaluation criteria: quality and effectiveness of the work plan, assessment of risk, and appropriateness of efforts assigned to work packages and resources overall, as well as the capacity and the role of each participant in consortium. So basically, high quality work plan, adequate allocation of workload among partners, expertise that matches the workload given in this project proposal, and of course, adequate allocation of resources in terms of budget proportion per work you assigned in the action. One of the main novelties of Horizon Europe is substantial reduction in maximum length of the project applications. For instance, research innovation actions and innovation actions had, in Horizon 2020, had limit up to 70 pages. Now it's reduced to maximum 45 pages for full application. For coordination and support actions, the previous limit was 50 pages. Now it came back to 30. But now it's reduced to 30. As for two-stage proposals, first stage remains with the limit of 10 pages. Depending on the type of action, the second stage proposal have different maximum length. And as for European Innovation Council, for instance, Pathfinder has a limit of 17 pages. Another novelty while I'm with the European Innovation Council, is EIC Accelerator, which as an instrument as a funding instrument replaced SME instrument, and it suffered, let's say, like that significant change in terms of a way how to submit the proposal and how it will be evaluated. First novelty is that Accelerator is submitted in 2 stages. In first stage, there is only 5 pages to be filled out, and it is evaluated on an ongoing basis, which basically means that within 1 month you receive the outcome if you will proceed in the second stage to submit full proposal. It's not based on the marks, it's based solely on go or no go decision. If you have a green light, if you have go, then you go to the full proposal, which is again maximum 17 pages. What is the biggest novelty covering the entire area is that everything is in online questionnaires. So using the artificial intelligence, European Commission will try to support companies to submit as best projects as possible. As for the novelties in eligibility for collaborative projects, for consortium composition, minimum criteria remain the same, which basically means that for certain actions, as coordination and support action, is at least 1 independent legal entity. But for research and innovation action is at least 3 independent legal entities. However, there is only a minor change that affects some. Here, I don't believe, but anyway, is that at least 1 legal entity must be established in a member state. So there is no possibility that 3 legal entities from associated countries only will be eligible with their project. 1 of them must be from the member states. And also a novelty is a gender equality plan, which will not be applicable for this year, and it will be not applicable for all. It will be applicable only for public bodies, research organizations, or higher education institutions from member states and associated countries, where they must have a clear, enforced gender equality plan that covers minimum process-related requirements. At this point, it will be enough just to self-declare. So there is a part in the administrative form, Form A, electronic one, where you self-declare either you have a gender equality plan or not. Also, afterwards, based on that self-declaration, it will be included in validation process of each legal entity. Now, going to the application form, there is a bit of reshift of sections within parts A and B. New fields in part A actually are, for number 1, it's researcher table. So in case that key personnel that will be included in the project has a status of researcher and has ORCID number or whatever number it is, it should be placed in the table, in the so-called research table. Why European Commission want it? The official explanation is because they want to track the progress of the career of that researcher. Then there is a part of role on role of participating organizations, which means that for each partner you enter the consortium with PIC code, you tick the box with a certain role: project manager, innovation manager, coordinator, communication manager. I'm just putting up some options, but they are far more than just named. And also already said, self-declaration of gender equality plan. However, now part A, administrative form, has been expanded by adding things from previous part B or previous documents that were uploaded. First and foremost, it's information on participant previous activities. So section 4, instead of just adding PIC number and adding an entity into the consortium, filling just a random data on phone, fax, and responsible person, now the entire self-circulating within the consortium, section 4, will be added into the online application, into the administrative form. The same goes for the section 5, ethics self-assessment. So in case of there are any ethic concerns or issues that may occur within the project, this part is not anymore in the separate document that is uploaded in at the Funding and Terrorist portal. It is actually brought back into online form, and it is filled online. Also, the novelty is security questionnaire, which means that they want to be sure that the outcomes of the project are for civilian purposes only, because others will not be supported. As for the novelties in part B, there is a glossary of terms they can use and acknowledge, and there is no more searching for buzzwords to be used in the project. There is a consistency on the use of terminology throughout all project phases, and also extensive explanation on what exactly should be included in each section, which means, as we have excellence, we have objectives and ambition and methodology. The template of the application form draws you 3 to 4, even more questions that will guide you on what should be written in there. They also have this estimation on number of pages to be used. However, it will be not strictly followed, which means that you are your own boss. Your only limit is 45 pages for the entire proposal. The way how will you present it remains yours. What is novelty here? Open science practice is moved from the section 2, impact, where we had this green license, gold access, green access, open access, and so on. So it is moved as a practice in the part excellence, number 1. And the entire program, Horizon Europe, now relies on fair use of research results, which means that they will impose open sharing of data. Also, data management and management of other research results, as it was once again in impact, how you what type of data you will generate, how will you manage it, and so on and so forth, instead of section 2 is coming to the excellence part. As for the impacts, it has three subsections. First, as stated, project pathway toward impact. So it needs to be made a distinction. I will come back to the previous slide in a bit, but it should be noted that there are different definitions you need to take into account. And it is result, it is outcome, and it is impact. That's the consistency and glossary of terms to be known in order to develop the application. So the result is something what you generate during the project implementation. Now, the outcome actually is the effect on medium term of project results. And now you don't have in your call for proposals, you don't have any more expected impacts. You have expected outcomes. You have a challenge, you have a scope, but you also have expected outcomes, and you need to address them. In order to complete this impact pathway, there is now the impact. And impact is long-term effect on the society, economy, and science that you trigger with your outcomes. And where you are looking for what European Commission expect to be the impact, it is in the description of the destination. That's why it was a hierarchy said before. So you look for impact in the destination, documents that describe the individual destination. And while outcomes will be described in individual call for proposal. This is really important to be noted. So when you describe this project pathway, then you have the clear plan for dissemination, communication, exploitation, measures to maximize impacts. I'm bringing to attention let's say, the most common mistake in Horizon 2020. There is no plan to have a plan. You need to have a plan beforehand, to propose it, and not just to plan that you will develop some sort of impact plan somewhere, sometime in the future. What is, again, novelty and impact is that actually these two subsections are combined then into summary. There is a template of Canvas where you feed the evaluator with key facts. What are the specific needs? What are the results? What are the measures for dissemination, exploitation, and communication? Who are the target groups of your project? What are the outcomes? And what are the impacts? So this all is in one page summary, through which you basically explain everything that you already written before, but in clear, understandable way. For the implementation, there are only two parts now. First, that will be, let's say, the most obvious. There is no different management section. Why? Because all management sections in 99.99% were the same. It was a generic point. That's why they removed that section. But basic things, who is the coordinator, what qualifies the coordinator, and everything, you can put in a work package related to management. It is not forbidden to avoid these kind of things. It's important. However, it should be significantly reduced. Significantly. So no more 2 or 3 pages of just management. So in the first part of implementation, it stayed the same, presenting the work plan and resources you need to achieve project results. The second part is that was previously 3.3, so it's capacity of participant and consortium as a whole, including justification of resources that was previously in Horizon 2020 on the very end of the application. Now it is a part of work plan and resources. Beside that, there is no specific subsection for management. There is a bit more diverse definition of types of deliverables and dissemination level. And also, the practice of developing data management plan and revision throughout the project now became compulsory. So compulsory deliverable is data management plan with the due date of 6 months after kickoff meeting. As I said about the deliverables, they're the standard one that was document, demonstrator, or DEC for websites, pattern fillings, press and media. And now we have data for data sets, microdata. We have DMP, a specific type of deliverable just for this compulsory one. But also we have ethics, deliverables related to ethical issues, security, deliverables related to security issues, and then we have other. Usually we had R, DEM, and sometimes DEC, and most of it other. So now it's a bit more diversified. Related to dissemination level, there were public, confidential, and classified in Horizon 2020. Now we have public, it remained. We have sensitive, limited under the conditions of the grant agreement. And then we have classified according to the European Commission directive, which is also restricted, confidential, or secret, depending on the danger of unauthorized disclosure. Within the evaluation part, some prayers have been taken into account, and first and foremost is enabling consortium to react on the evaluation. So right to react. Namely, the evaluation process have different stages. First is individual evaluation, then is a consensus group among 3 different evaluators or more. Third, then with the already pre-evaluated, let's say like that, pre-evaluated projects, you go to panel review, and then comes the final ranking and final list of grant awardees. Between the steps of individual and consensus evaluation, the coordinator, the consortium, will be invited to react on the comments given by the evaluators. Basic objective is to increase the transparency, to correct any factual or major misunderstanding by experts at early stage. So each consortium will receive draft comments. Personally, from my personal experience, it was also a case when some consortia received negative points or no points at all, or their evaluation score was decreased, and the comment clearly marked that the evaluator didn't read the entire proposal or didn't pay attention to the details he or she is referring to. That create a lot of, let's say, bad blood, and now through this mechanism, they want to improve this evaluation quality. However, you must not change the application form. You are only allowed to point out if there are any major misunderstanding of the contents given in the application by the evaluators. So change of the application form is absolutely no-go. Then what happens is, after receiving a reaction by consortium or no reaction at all, then it goes to the consensus group and finalizing the assessment of the proposal. Also, for 2-stage submissions, for 2-stage calls for proposals, it is introduced let's say, the Institute of Blind Evaluation. Because once the evaluator receives these 10 pages of first stage, it also receives the information about the contents of consortium. So who are the participants in there? And it was commented by many different entity representatives that it's not considered what is the quality of the idea in this first stage, because there's only 10 pages you can refer to, but it was unofficially evaluated the strength of the consortium, the strength of the participants that are in the consortium, and that there is a division between East and West and so on and so forth. In order to prevent this, they introduced blind evaluation, which means that at stage 1, at submission of these 10 pages of idea, the composition of consortium will not be evaluated nor visible to evaluators. So they will not know the identity of participant, and they will have just these 10 pages to evaluate the idea. More or less, these are the novelties. This is the comparison. Some things are already, let's say, improved. The dynamics is a bit slow, and I want to point attention to the fact that me personally would like to say that it will be an avalanche. It will be an avalanche submission. Namely, the clusters, what I have analyzed as clusters, cluster group of calls for proposals. There will be 20 or 30 different calls under certain destination with the same deadline date, which basically means that you will have a single deadline for maybe for entire cluster. We will see in its final work programs, but I'm afraid that it will be that it will require a lot of energy in case of participation on more than one subject. I thank you for your attention and looking forward to your questions.
Thank you, Ivica, for your detailed presentation. We have a question. Alessandro asked if a project in climate, energy, or in the agro-solar fields might be funded within Horizon Europe.
Yes, the general question is yes, because the climate and energy represent the cornerstones of one cluster 4, I think, and there are a lot of different. Some versions of the work programs can be found online, and you can already see what are the costs and scopes of individual actions that are required by the European Commission. So climate, yes; energy, yes, definitely; and food, yes, definitely.
Thank you. We have another question. What is the average size of the consortium?
The average size is not determined, as you could see from the presentation. So basically, we have the minimum criteria, which is 3 independent legal entities, and 1 must be from the member states. The structure, the size of consortium depends solely on the work that is proposed in the application.
And another one, will the research table be evaluated by the European Commission?
On this question, I can say, I hope, because we don't know, we don't have any experience, but the guarantees, let's say, or the presentation by the European Commission is that it is not evaluated. It is not to be counted for each key personnel in how many projects this person works. It is solely for monitoring of career development of each researcher. So for companies, for instance, there is no need to fill out the table. It is only for research organizations. Now, for case Slovenia, the companies also have their research groups, so they can add their people into research table, but they are not obliged to.
Ivica, just last one. Is there any optimal ratio between academia and industry?
Optimal ratio, once again, depends on the workload. But let's see. I didn't mention that there is still the technology readiness level. It is still the guideline given by the European Commission in these research and development projects, which mean research and innovation action requires action within lower TRL levels, technology readiness levels, while innovation action goes a bit higher, goes up to TRL 8 to the point of 9. So 5, 6, 7. While research and innovation action is, I don't know, 2, 3, 4, up to 5 maximum. Within this research and innovation action, according to expertise, public research organizations, as laboratories, can give more contribution. While in innovation actions, where we work with scale up, with replications and so on, this is mostly covered by the companies.
Thank you, Ivica, for your answers. And we have no more questions, so I think we can conclude here. And dear guests, as you have heard, Horizon Europe offers plenty of opportunities to develop your project idea. If you have any question, you can contact us via email at the email address you can see below, so info@euroservice.eu. We invite you to follow also our social media profiles, Facebook and LinkedIn, as well as our YouTube profile, where you can find all our webinars. This webinar will be available soon as well on YouTube. Thank you for being with us today. Thank you again, Ivica, and I wish you a pleasant afternoon.